The next war will be against Turkey and Egypt. A storm is coming. These are not the words of a fringe internet commentator. This is a direct declaration from Jonathan Pollard, the most notorious spy in modern American history, a man who once held the keys to Washington's deepest military secrets and who is today treated as a state hero in Tel Aviv. As the dust barely settles from Israel's recent campaigns across the Middle East, Iran, Lebanon, they're still playing havoc over there. Pollard is already charting the new targets. He tells the public to forget about local factions, the disregarded political transitions in Syria, and to prepare for an inevitable cataclysmic clash with two of the largest military powers in the Muslim world, Turkey and Egypt. He explicitly casts Ankara as the new Iran, a strategic monster on Israel's doorsteps that must be neutralized. But what does this reveal about the broader Israeli security doctrine? Is this just the radical musing of an unhinged ex-convict? Or is he saying out loud what the deep corridors of power in Tel Aviv have already planned? Today, we pull back the curtain on Jonathan Pollard, the myth of the greater Israel expansion, and why the Zionist state appears fundamentally designed to keep the Middle East in a state of perpetual chaos. To understand the gravity of Pollard's statement, we have to connect the dots. This is not isolated rhetoric. It is a continuation of a well-documented blueprint. Cast your mind back to the statements made by former Israeli officials regarding what they termed the Sunni Axis of mischief. For years, Israeli intelligence circles, they have quietly and sometimes overtly warned that once the Iranian threat was managed, the real strategic challenge would come from the major Sunni powers, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. Just last year, a regime-appointed security committee formally warned Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense ministry of an impending direct military confrontation with Turkey in Syria, labeling Ankara a new regional threat. Analysts have openly caught on to this shift, observing that Tel Aviv is actively reframing Turkey, a heavyweight NATO member, as the ultimate ideological and military adversary. Concurrently, Egypt has re-entered Israel's crosshairs, with strategic assessments warning against a growing Turkish-Egyptian alignment that could form a Sunni ring around the occupied territories. Look at the current chessboard. On one side, Washington and Tehran are staring down a deadlock in negotiations. US President Donald Trump has repeatedly claimed he's pushing for a durable peace agreement, even stating he has spoken directly with regional leadership to end the war in Lebanon. Yet, every diplomatic overture is met with an immediate escalation, more bombing, more incursions, more devastation. This begs the existential question: does Israel actually want a durable peace? Or is its very survival predicated on a doctrine of perpetual regional chaos? For the right-wing expansionists now dominating Israeli politics, a destabilized Middle East is not a tragedy, it is a necessity. It is the tactical smokescreen required to fulfill the ideological quest for a greater Israel, a state whose borders expand while its neighbors are fractured into endless tribal warfare. But who exactly is the man delivering these ominous warnings? To understand why his words carry weight, we must look at the astonishing, almost unbelievable story of his treason. Imagine a man born and raised as an American citizen. He rises through the ranks to become a civilian intelligence analyst for the United States Navy, Driven by a radical ideological devotion to Zionism, he decides to betray his homeland. From 1984 to 1985, Pollard stole and sold over 360 cubic feet of highly classified American defense secrets to Israeli intelligence. We are talking about satellite imagery, operational plans in the Persian Gulf, and the specific military capabilities of Arab nations, including Egypt and Pakistan. The betrayal was catastrophic. Reports indicated that Israel didn't just keep these secrets, they traded some of this highly sensitive intelligence to the Soviet Union, America's greatest Cold War rival, in exchange for diplomatic favors, deeply compromising active US agents. When the FBI closed in on him in November 1985, Pollard fled to the Israeli embassy in Washington, begging for asylum. In a move that foreshadowed decades of duplicity, the Israelis literally threw him out of the gates into the arms of waiting federal agents to protect their own diplomatic cover. In 1987, a federal court sentenced him to life in prison, the harshest penalty ever handed down for spying on behalf of an American ally. For 30 years, Pollard sat in a federal prison, but behind the scenes, the Israeli government and its powerful Washington Zionist lobby launched a relentless multi-million-dollar campaign to free him. Netanyahu personally visited him in prison, elevating a convicted traitor to the status of a Zionist national hero. In 2015, he was paroled. And by late 2020, the Trump administration cleared his travel restrictions. Funded by private jet courtesy of Israeli-American billionaire Miriam Adelson, Pollard touched down in Tel Aviv. The Prime Minister of Israel personally meets a convicted American traitor on the tarmac, hands him an Israeli ID card and tells him, "Welcome home." Can you imagine any other country doing this? If a citizen of any Western nation spied for a Muslim country, their entire lineage would be blacklisted. And the state responsible would face crippling sanctions, if not outright bombardment. If Pollard had been a Muslim spying for Pakistan or Egypt, he would have faced the death penalty. And the media would have weaponized his treason to vilify millions of innocent citizens and immigrants. But because his loyalty belonged to Tel Aviv, treason was rebranded as heroism. Fast forward to present day. Pollard's radicalism has only intensified. He has openly called for the complete ethnic cleansing and annexation of Gaza Strip, and is currently angling for a seat in the Israeli Knesset. More shockingly, in recent interviews, Pollard openly threatened his former homeland, stating that if the United States ever imposes a weapon embargo or pressures Israel diplomatically, Tel Aviv should launch a direct nuclear strike on America. He literally cited the 1973 Yom Kippur War, boasting that Israeli loaded unconventional weapons onto planes to blackmail Washington into resuming supply lines. They were ready to nuke United States of America. The rot runs so deep that just months ago, a massive political scandal erupted when the newly appointed US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, a notorious ideological extremist, held a highly classified, unauthorized meeting with Pollard inside the US embassy in Jerusalem. The CIA's station chief expressed absolute fury over the security breach, yet the current White House administration quickly moved to sweep it under the rug, validating what independent commentators like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens have increasingly pointed out. The America First policy has effectively been hijacked, and it has been transformed into an Israel First mandate. Okay, now let's just analyze the hard, cold, on-ground reality. When a state-sanctioned figure like Pollard openly names Turkey and Egypt as the next targets, the Muslim world cannot afford to treat it as empty bluster. The Israeli military machine relies on a strategy of sequential neutralization, fracturing its neighbors one by one while keeping the borders region divided. So what is the way forward for the targeted powers like Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, or Pakistan? As far as Turkey is concerned, Ankara must recognize that its NATO membership offers no protection against Zionist expansionism. Turkey must solidify its strategic presence in northern Syria and fortify its maritime borders, completely dismantling any attempts to establish hostile managed protectorates on its periphery. Now let's come to Egypt, the guardian of Sinai. Cairo cannot continue to play the role of a passive mediator while its borders are slowly encircled. Egypt must drastically reinforce the Sinai Peninsula, reject any forced displacement of Palestinians into its territory, and pivot its defense doctrine to face the immediate eastern threat. As far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, the financial and diplomatic anchor, Riyadh must permanently halt all normalization narratives. True security does not lie in a defense pact brokered by Washington to protect Israel. It lies in leveraging Saudi financial power to forge an independent, unyielding regional coalition. Pakistan, the deterrent backstop. As a sole nuclear power of the Muslim world, Islamabad remains the ultimate strategic weight. Despite its internal economic challenges, Pakistan must maintain its uncompromising stance on Palestine, on Palestinian sovereignty, and deepen its intelligence and military technical cooperation with Ankara, Cairo, and Riyadh. The thing is that all of these countries need to get together. The thing is that forming a Muslim NATO, an Islamic NATO, is the need of the hour. It is unfortunate that Saudi Arabia and UAE, they're not the kind of friends that they used to be. Now they're rivals. And Cairo has joined the UAE camp. Pakistan has already signed a defense pact with Saudi Arabia. Turkey is dilly-dallying. They're not sure if they want to join or not. But they all have to come together. If they don't, they will all be taken down one by one. Let's come to the conclusion. The lesson of Jonathan Pollard is clear. The forces driving the Zionist state do not respect international law, they do not respect historical alliances, and they do not respect the sovereignty of the neighbors. The threat is no longer hidden in classified intelligence folders. It is being broadcast openly on podcasts and television screens. The Sunni Axis is not a fictional threat created by Tel Aviv. It must become a real, unified, and unbreakable defensive reality. If Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan do not coordinate their defense architecture and present a unified, impenetrable front, the storm that Pollard promises will arrive at each of their doorsteps one by one. The choice is no longer between peace and war. The choice is between collective deterrence or collective destruction. This is what I had to say. Let me know about your thoughts. Comment below. What role must Pakistan and Turkey play to neutralize this emerging threat? And I'll be waiting for your comments. Until next time, keep your eyes on the chessboard. Allah Hafiz.